Meanwhile, in the South China Sea, it's down to trash talking. The Philippines has tried everything to repel the Chinese armada. First, they made a peaceful appeal. China did not budge. Then their navy ordered the PLA to leave. That didn't work either. So now their top diplomat has let loose on social media. This is what their foreign secretary, the Philippines' foreign secretary, wrote on Twitter. Unfortunately, I cannot read it out for you because the language is quite colorful. But let me say this. Most of the world shares this sentiment and they're tired of being bullied by China. The foreign secretary did not stop there. He compared China to an ugly oaf. Now, this may sound outrageous to many, but if you skim through his Twitter feed, you'll find this is his style. He once said, usual suave diplomatic speak gets nothing done. And with China, that's actually the case. Beijing did respond to the comments. They said megaphone diplomacy does not work. Look who's talking. China has hundreds of wolf warriors spreading propaganda for a living. If that is not megaphone diplomacy, what is? So the war of words continues on the one side, but what about the Chinese vessels in Filipino waters? They're still there on the longest fishing expedition in human history. We're closing in on 2 months here. So either the Chinese really love their fish or these men are just really bad at fishing. The reality, of course, is neither. These are not fishing boats at all. These are PLA warships. Since 2016, the Philippines has filed 78 diplomatic protests against China. All of them have been ignored. So President Duterte is changing tack. He's pursuing a harder line, more maritime patrols, and zero negotiations on sovereign waters. But the Philippines is just a tryout. China wants total Pacific domination. And it's got a new weapon to do just that. The Jin-class nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, or the Type 094A. It was unveiled last Friday on the PLA Navy's 72nd anniversary. What's so special about this submarine? It is armed with a long-range missile. By long range, I mean 10,000 kilometers, which means the missile can theoretically hit anywhere in the US mainland. The missile is called the JL-3. It can carry multiple warheads, including nuclear ones, and the payloads are devastating. Experts say it is almost 67 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. So this is a weapon of mass destruction in all senses, a clear sign of escalation. How vulnerable does this leave the US? You see, there are a string of American bases guarding the Pacific. China's new sub will have to slip past all of these to enter striking distance. And this is where China has always faltered. Their weapons are clunky and loud. So American radars pick them up easily. This new submarine is supposedly different, but we haven't seen it in action. And we hope we don't. So we'll have to take China's word for it. Just like the Philippines, most Pacific nations are running out of patience with China. The latest one to speak out is New Zealand. Until now, they've largely stayed away from direct comments. A live and let live approach. But on Monday, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern admitted that the differences are becoming harder to reconcile.
And it will not have escaped the attention of anyone here that as China's role in the world grows and changes, the differences between our systems and the interests and values that shape those systems are becoming harder to reconcile. This is a challenge that we and many other countries across the Indo-Pacific region, but also in Europe and other regions, are also grappling with.
This is not a change in stance. This is not a promise of a hawkish China policy. This is an admission. And it's important because this is another country voting against a China-led world order. So what is the world planning to do about it? Plans are being drawn on the other side of the globe, in London. That's where the G7 is meeting. On today's agenda are China and Russia. The talks are expected to cover two bases. One is upholding democracy and human rights, and the second is building a rules-based international order. In other words, counter China. America's top diplomat Antony Blinken outlined the group's plan ahead of the talks. Listen in.
President Biden's been very clear for a long time, including before he was president, that if Russia chooses to act recklessly or aggressively, we'll respond. But we're not looking to escalate. We would prefer to have a more stable, more predictable relationship. It is not our purpose to try to contain China or to hold China down. What we are trying to do is to uphold the international rules-based order that our countries have invested so much in over so many decades, to the benefit, I would argue, not just of our own citizens, but of people around the world, including, by the way, China.
The West has been talking China for a long time. But the G7 could be a game changer. This is a group with a combined economy of $40 trillion, not to mention 3 nuclear powers. So if the plan is to make China pay, the G7 is the place to start. We'll be watching. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.